Hello everybody, it is me, GamePenguin21, and today, oh boy, we are talking about Reforge Gaming and Bruv Nation again. Well, at least with Bruv Nation, I've talked about him before, but in a more positive light, and he still has his more amazing positivity, and to be quite honest, him popping off and him, actually making very fair reviews and very fair observations on the Xbox Series X that his wife got him is all the more interesting. Now, to be clear here, I don't think that Reforge Gaming is a bad person. I just think that he makes very stupid and dumb arguments, this being one of them. So, what happened? Well, after my last video got posted, a lot of stuff actually has happened. Other than Bruv obviously popping off, because a lot of people are now talking about him. More specifically, Reforge Gaming, who ended up finding, I think, one of his videos that was talking about, I think, the differences between Quick Play and the PlayStation and stuff like that, and how the PlayStation stuff wasn't up to snuff with some of the stuff that was on the Xbox and yada yada yada. Overall, Reforge didn't like that, so he made a response, probably mostly on the stream. If you want to see the response that Bruv Nation gave before the actuation of this video, you can go and watch that, probably in the description below. But lo and behold, this is slightly after that video. Now, again, a couple of fools did do the standard salt response thing and did the whole whatever with Reforge now coming back with this. And I really wanted to talk about this because I already did a one on the couple of fools, and it might as well be a nice little update to the whole thing since everyone else is talking about it. With that being said, if you like what it is that I do, want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links down to everything in the description below. With that being said, let's get started.
Who cares? I'm drawn by games and quality, and the entire reason that guy did a reaction video to me is because I said, yes, if you suddenly jump into the Xbox Series X 5 years into the gen, and you get to enjoy an ocean of Game Pass games, you've not lived through the dark times of Xbox. You don't understand why 4 years into the gen, someone like myself stops using my Xbox, which was my main console, and started using my PlayStation more. You don't understand that because you're coming to PlayStation late. I'm sorry, you're coming to Xbox late.
I hate this argument for a number of reasons. One of the biggest reasons is if you continuously and completely say, oh, you don't get to make all these positive critiques, or you don't get to critique the previous platform that you actively liked, besides the fact that, you were on that platform or on that side for a long time, and then immediately switch over to, talking negatively about the platform or having more standard critiques about the platform that you used to actually enjoy, but you still do to some extent, but you just critique it because you want it to be better. You don't get to do that. No. You don't get to do that because you haven't experienced the whole thing with the other side. You haven't gone in with the understanding of when and how long we were doing it and how long we were begging for change, and you don't get to experience that emotional attachment that we have, because unfortunately you don't deserve that. At least that's what it comes off as. I never liked the argument of, oh, I am a PC gamer elitist, therefore you should listen to everything I say. I don't really necessarily say that. I say that as more of a person who has some experience, but I always say, make your own judgment at the end of the day. While I may be harsh in my critiques at times, at the end of the day, I want you to take my critiques more as a guideline and not as hard and fast rules. If you like the console, go ahead with the console. If you like the PC, go ahead with the PC. If you like Steam, go ahead and like Steam. If you like Epic Games, go ahead and like Epic Games. I personally just disagree with some of the practices that are on those places and on those platforms, and I disagree with people like Reforge because their opinion, they try to manipulate it and make it so that way it's a quote-unquote fact of the world, that it's their whole thing. It baffles me how people can continuously say, oh, this person right here who used to be on our side now has new information about the other side that ended up changing his opinion, therefore he is now our enemy. I hate that. I hate that so much. It's just think outside of what information that you have, at least a little bit.
So, of course you think Xbox is great when you jump in 5 years in and you don't have to wait on the cadence of games. You get to boot up Game Pass and play Stalker 2 and Indiana Jones and Hi-Fi Rush and Forza Horizon. Just boom, 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 boom. You didn't have to wait 4 years to get 3 decent games. My point was very fair to him. It was like, value is subjective. So yes, if you don't do anything with Xbox for 5 years and then you jump in, your experience is going to be different than mine. I mained Xbox. I couldn't wait for the Series X to come out. The cadence of first-party games was terrible. The quality of first-party games was terrible. They kept shipping games late. They kept shipping games at 30 FPS. They've been nothing but disappointment for 5 years. So of course you're going to come in late and get to skip over all the crap and have a better time. And then you're going to say, oh, Quick Resume's such a great feature. Not really.
Oh boy, this is a lot of stuff to do, but comes down to one very particular argument. I love it when the opposite side lists off all these negative things that they had for it, and yet you can literally take those things, switch it to the other side, and it would be just as true. I mean, how good has PlayStation's cadence for games been? How many game stuff has they canceled? Is there any and all good games that are on PlayStation that you aren't, like, completely and utterly baffled that they didn't come out with sooner? Or have they shipped games late? I'm fairly certain that that has happened before. Have they been continuously shipping games at 30 FPS? Yes, they have. Do they continuously break promises that they actually made to their consumer base? Yes, they have. Again, when the argument is just as valid if you were to literally switch it over to the other side, the argument doesn't really stand on its own. And yeah, Quick Resume is a very good feature. I will admit that as a PC guy. I mean, it is not something that I would buy an entire console for, but it's interesting as a sort of evolution of what the game is. As far as I understand, you can like layer multiple games into one particular thing, and it kind of just does this and that and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, if you like a feature of a console, or you like a feature of another platform for the reason that it fits more into the way that you want to play and experience video games, isn't that like a valid reason for you to try and switch over? Because you can then see more of the benefits of having multiple things. I think you're missing the point here.
Not really. Pound for pound, point by point, it's not that great when you say, well, all you got to do is put your PlayStation in rest mode.
Rest mode is not the same as Quick Resume. Full stop.
Half these commenters weren't even born during our gaming struggles, bunch of keyboard warriors. I dare them to buy a second-hand first, second-gen consoles and give it a go in comparison to today's devices. I'm not sure what you're saying, Andy.
He's saying, or at least I'm saying right now, is that you sound like a pretentious dick who doesn't want the gaming community that you say that you love to grow and have people change their opinions. It sounds like you want it to be more stagnant than anything else because you're having this, quote, elitist mentality, which you blame PC players of having this elitist mentality, saying that your opinion matters less because you haven't gone through the struggles that we had to go through to go into the trench lines and beg our corporate overlords to entirely give us more content. And once that was seen, we deserted and went over to the other line, upon which we were accepted because we felt that they aligned more, even though they are just as toxic as we are.
Quick Resume just feels like an evolution of rest mode. Yeah, like, if you want me to be compelled that, like, hey, Series X is great, Xbox is actually pretty great, well, of course you think that when you come in 5 years later, and you didn't have to suffer through 30 FPS Starfield at launch, Redfall at launch, which was a disaster regardless of 30 FPS or not. You didn't have to live through Halo Infinite. And looking forward, and I covered Halo Infinite a bunch, and we did community game nights with Halo Infinite. You didn't have to live through watching that game slowly die from ineptitude and destruction from Microsoft. So yeah, you want to strut into Xbox 5 years into the gen and act like I'm the fanboy because you're having a great time. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course you are. You missed out on 4 years of waiting and frustration and disappointment and terribleness. You missed out on all of that. So you want to call me a fanboy and put me in your video, you go right the frick ahead. I hope you continue to have a great time on Xbox.
Thank you for your consent, though it is not necessary. I would also like to say that, oh yeah, we had to wait for all of these things. Isn't that, again, what you blame a lot of, like, PC guys of doing? Saying, like, oh yeah, you're gonna have to wait for all these games while I'm busy playing them. It's like, cool, I can wait. I've got other things to do. Which is exactly what Bruv actually kind of did, because he was already on PlayStation and was very, very fully content to it. A lot of people continuously, completely fucking forget that he didn't buy it. Like, a couple of fools, like the guy who runs the channel didn't buy it. Like, he never once thought to buy the console, the Xbox, right? It was his wife. Based wife, by the way. Again, keep her. She seems like a lovely woman if she's, like, giving you a gift of a console, like, to further your hobby. Absolutely based wife. Like, I hope you two have a very loving and happy relationship, and I'm very happy for you. But still, he never bought it, so he had very little, if any, incentive to be like, oh, I'm gonna buy it because I want it, because it's gonna be like me switching over and it's gonna piss off everyone. No, he had no intention of doing that. You're getting upset because he saw the other side had actual positives that he liked and positives that he's now singing the praises of, and you're getting upset over his opinion. So what the fuck?
But there are some of us that have been with Xbox since the 360 era, and this has been an incredibly disappointing generation. Incredibly disappointing. So you want to call me a fanboy because I walked away from my main console because the last 4 years have been a joke and the market represents that with how poorly the device has sold? You go right ahead and call me a fanboy. I don't care.
If you didn't care, you wouldn't make the video, nor would you go on this giant fucking rant.
Like, I'm just a consumer with standards. That's it. I have standards. And my main platform disappointed me for 4 years in a row, and I don't really turn it on anymore.
I will 100% call you a fanboy, but not necessarily for those reasons. You're a fanboy because of your mentality. You're a fanboy because you continuously defend the practices of a company that is continuously trying to screw you over and is seriously trying to live you in the past. They have screwed you over before. They will continue to screw you over in the future. And they have screwed you out of games this year alone, as well as been hacked a couple of few times in the past 5 to 10 years. Overall, I do not believe that this company, Sony, is good enough for the community, but deserves to at least be criticized, which you continuously fucking don't do. It's a mentality. It has nothing to do with you walking away from it. Also, what's interesting is that you're kind of admitting to the fact that you left Xbox for one reason that was kind of petty to go over to defend Sony for kind of petty reasons, therefore making you... Is this a Crap Gamer 2.0? It might be a Crap Gamer 2.0. My God, they're multiplying.
Simple as that. If that makes me a fanboy, it sounds like you use labels because it's easier than accepting that maybe people are different than you. Like I did when I talked about him. I was like, value's subjective. Like his experience has been vastly different. So yeah, if you haven't been on Xbox in a decade and then you suddenly jump in and sign up for Game Pass, of course it's going to feel like you're swimming in an ocean of value. The same thing happened with Doc Dark. Doc was late, comes to gaming late, thinks Xbox is amazing, thinks Game Pass is amazing. And then what happened? Doc Dark had standards and Xbox fell below those standards, didn't deliver games at 60, so he went to PC. It's virtually the same as my journey. It's like, I just hit that button earlier. I was like, I am not, this platform is not doing it for me anymore.
Projection detected, opinion rejected. Although I don't know about the Doc Dark situation. I actually didn't know that was a thing. But that previous statement, it felt like very much so projection, of where it's like, oh yeah, if you didn't do it for a decade and then you come in and there's this ocean of content. It's like, yeah, it does feel that way. Because it is. There's a lot of content and games that he missed out on, that he wasn't able to play. So he's going to go back and play it. Just like how me on PC decided to go back and play older games. Like, I literally, like, is that a bad thing? I don't see how that's a bad thing. Like, I literally bought a knockoff knockoff Game Boy SP that is, like, basically a tiny emulation machine in the style of a Nintendo DS SP. I pulled some of the ROMs off this thing, because you can pull the ROMs off this thing, because it runs on Linux and has its own thing. But I pulled some of the ROMs off this to put them into my Steam Deck, to play on my Steam Deck in a more modern hardware and modern settings with, like, more customizable features, at least on the Steam Deck. I could still customize them on to this one, but, I mean, it's still pretty okay. But how is it wrong that I go back and play old games? Old games that I never got to play, by the way. Old games on old consoles that would have been lost had it not been for emulation and stuff. How is that different? It's not. It's very fucking not, because it's the same thing. Is someone going back to a console or going to a new platform, discovering the positives of being on that platform, and then realizing, oh shit, I have been so limited in my notion of PlayStation is the best, which is what you continue, and most PlayStation fanboys continue to just not understand.
This platform is not doing it for me anymore. And you're not going to convince me. You're not going to convince me that like a quick resume, oh yeah, I'll go over there and play old games, second party and third party games on Game Pass, I guess, because quick resume's so good. Said he had standards, you don't, and you lack rational thinking. Have you falsified a single one of the things that I've claimed? I'm talking about my experience with Xbox, and it's so triggering to insecure people like you.
And so is he. He's talking about his experience with PlayStation. And his experience with Xbox as well. And his experience is far more positive and seemingly far more nuanced and honest. Whereas yours feels like not that at all.
You're insecure. You're like a little boy who, when someone says something you don't like, you just say, oh, well, you lack rational thinking. I lack rational thinking. I had an enormous library on Xbox that I built over the years from 360 into the Xbox One era, had a bunch of games in my backlog of backwards compatibility games that I played with my wife, memories of games that I played with my wife, born in co-op and Xbox arcade games, and I walked away from making that my main platform because they weren't delivering on what I was promised. They weren't delivering on what I was promised.
Projection detected, opinion rejected. Literally, this is the second time that he's done that, where he's like, oh yeah, you just put all these labels on people because you're a little boy, and then goes on to spout on these things as to why he left the platform. Which, by the way, I'm not saying that the reason why he left the platform is invalid. It's totally valid that you can see something like the Xbox and say, hey, I don't like this platform. It's not for the reason that you left. It's the reason that you didn't decide to, not have the fanboy mentality, I guess. There's a very, fine line in some ways where Bruv himself understood that, yeah, I don't owe the corporation anything. He said so in a comment. He said, I don't owe Sony the money that I don't owe Sony anything specifically. It feels like whenever you speak that you owe Sony money, like they're gonna come over and break your kneecaps if you don't just suck them off every 5 minutes. That's the way it feels, and it's the way you come off. So it's the fanboy mentality that you continuously fucking have. It has nothing to do with you switching platforms and being supposedly a hypocrite if this is everything that you have to be true about. It's more along the lines of you just have that fanboy mentality and you do not get to just denounce those allegations without providing evidence, which you have not. We have a ton of evidence to the contrary.
You want to talk about rest mode? You know what you sound like? All those weirdos who coped with the lack of games the first 3 or 4 years, and they just talked about FPS boost. And the Series S has more 60 FPS games than the PlayStation because of FPS boost on backwards compatible games. You're talking about features. You know what I don't do when I boot up my PlayStation 5 Pro? I don't play features. I play games. So you can talk about quick resume or smart delivery or FPS boost all you want. There's no games over there. And the ones they ship aren't at quality.
Hold on. Are there not any games over on Xbox, or are they not up to the quality, or they're not up to your personal quality, quote unquote, of games? You can't have it both ways, saying that Xbox doesn't have games, when they clearly do, since they're backwards compatible all the way to Xbox 360, right? And you've said this multiple times throughout the video. But then come back here and say the games that they do release are the ones that are not up to my standards. Which is it? Because I'm about ready to tap out of this. In fact, you know what? There's 2 minutes left of this rant. Fuck it. We're going to tap out of this one because I think that about sums up what I mean when I'm talking about the fanboy mentality. Because here's the deal, Reforge. You are a fanboy. Whether you want to admit it or not, you are one. Why? Because you say sentences exactly like that. You say very hypocritical sentences that make no sense. You have a logic that is illogical, in trying to twist it to be Sony positive. That statement right there sums up this entire rant. You do not like Xbox because they, I guess, wronged you at some point, or you felt wronged because you weren't being catered to like with PlayStation. Despite the fact that PlayStation has had broken promises and has also lied to their consumer bases and continues to lie to their consumer bases all the damn time. I don't know what else you want me to say. I think that that'll about sum it up. With all that being said, if you'd like to go to this, that I do want to support me in any other way, shape, or form, links on everything in the description below. Well, please hit add, like, and subscribe for everything. Don't be a fanboy ever. Check out Bruv's YouTube channel. Links down to that in the description below, along with the video. Probably we're going to be responding to this. Probably a Saturday video, but overall, I'm happy with how this thing came out. Anyway, with that being said, thank you again so much for watching, and a peace off.